If you're a business owner with no personal brand, you're leaving money on the table and you don't even realize it. And no, that doesn't mean you need to start acting like some fake internet guru in a rented Lamborghini. That's not personal branding, that's fake authority. For a business owner, your personal brand is a huge part of the first impression. It shows people how you think, what you stand for, why they should trust you, and why they should choose you over somebody else selling the same thing. Because whether you like it or not, people are judging your business before they ever talk to you. They're looking you up, they're checking out your content, they're trying to figure out if there's a real person behind the business worth trusting. And if they find nothing, you gave them nothing to believe in. So in this episode, I'll show you how to build a personal brand, why it matters, and the first move I would make if I had to start from zero today. Personal branding has become one of those terms people throw around so much that it starts to lose its meaning. Everybody says you need one, yet hardly anyone explains what it actually is. So a lot of business owners hear the words build your personal brand and think it just means post more content on social media. Maybe they throw up a few business lessons. Maybe they post a quote. Maybe they share a few behind the scenes photos every once in a while and hope that people somehow connect it back to their business. And look, that technically is content, but content by itself is not a personal brand. A personal brand is what people associate with your name. When someone hears your name, what comes to mind? Do they know what you do? Do they understand the problem you solve? Do they have a sense of how you actually think? Can they explain why someone should trust you? That is the actual game here. Because the goal isn't to become internet famous. The goal is to become recognizable and trusted by the people who actually matter to your business. And that matters nowadays more than ever because people form opinions about you before they ever even talk to you. Before someone reaches out, there's a really good chance that they've already looked you up online. Maybe they saw a video, clicked on your website, checked out your Instagram, or searched your name because they want to see if you were actually legit. That's the part business owners need to understand. The sales process doesn't start when someone books a call anymore. It starts the second they begin forming an opinion about you. Your personal brand is part of that opinion. So if your message is unclear, inconsistent, or disconnected from what your business actually does, you're making it harder for people to understand why they should trust you. And most people aren't going to work that hard. They'll just move on. That's why this matters so much. A personal brand should make trust easier. It should make your message clearer. Most importantly, it should help the right people understand why you're the person they should pay attention to. And the easiest way to understand all of this is to stop thinking about personal branding as a look and start thinking about it as an association. Your personal brand is what people connect to your name, not your logo, not your headshot, not some dramatic photo of you staring out the window like you're trying to buy some tech company. It's association. So when people hear your name, what do they think about? That's the brand. And for a lot of business owners, this is where things start to get really messy. They might be known locally, people might like them, their business might even be doing well. But online, there's no clear connection between their name and the problem they solve. Someone might recognize your face, but still have no idea what to actually come to you for. That's not a strong personal brand. A strong personal brand makes that connection obvious. When people hear your name, they should be able to associate you with a problem, a perspective, an industry, or a specific outcome. That doesn't happen by accident. You have to decide what you want to be known for. Before people knew me as the podcast guy, I came from a completely different world, the family printing business, an old school manufacturing company. That was the world I grew up in. That was the industry I knew. That was the lane I was in for a really long time. But even though it was printing, I was still around branding every single day. I worked with a lot of major global brands, everything from the Estee Lauders of the world to the Philadelphia 76ers, Grant Cardone, and VaynerMedia. I also worked with a ton of small and medium-sized businesses too. So I was exposed to the whole spectrum of brands from small-town business owners to billionaire CEOs of public companies. I got to see how companies thought about presentations, consistency, materials, packaging, messaging, and how a brand shows up in the real world. My point here is I didn't just randomly wake up one day and become Mr. Brand Builder guy because I started a podcast. I've been involved with brands for the last 15 years. It just looked different. Back then, it was print, packaging, and mostly physical brand presence. Now it's content, personal branding, video podcasting, and digital trust. Same concept, different tools. And while I was still working in the family business, I started the podcast on the side at the same time. So there was this overlap. During the day, I was working in the print industry. At the same time, I was building my podcast, creating content, doing interviews, building a studio, developing podcasts for B2B clients, and slowly becoming known in a completely different space, but still overlapping with business owners and executives. Then over time, it shifted. I left the family business and I went all in on podcasting, content creation, and helping business owners use video podcasting to build trust and authority. That did not happen overnight. It was a reinvention. And actually, it was probably a few reinventions throughout those several years. But honestly, I think that's one of the most important skills you can have in business. The ability to reinvent yourself before the market forces you to. Side note, maybe I'll do an episode on reinventing yourself because that's a whole topic in itself. But the reason I'm bringing it up here is because your personal brand is not always some fixed thing that never changes. It should evolve as you evolve. For years, a lot of people knew me as the podcast guy, and that wasn't a bad thing. The podcast opened doors. It helped me build relationships. It gave me credibility. It put my name in rooms I probably wouldn't have been in otherwise. But over time, I realized something. Being known for having a podcast is not the same thing as being known for having a clear point of view. And that distinction matters. So I had to tighten the brand. Now, I want people to associate my brand with helping business owners use video podcasts to earn trust, build an undeniable brand, and grow their business. Not podcasting as a hobby, a side hustle, or all these other podcasters out here trying to monetize their content thinking they're going to become rich and famous. My brand got stronger when the message got more specific. And that's the lesson for any business owner. Your brand can evolve. It should evolve. But at every stage, you still need to decide what you want people to associate with your name. Because if you don't, the market will either decide for you or forget about you completely. Neither one is ideal. And once you understand that your personal brand is really about association, the next question becomes pretty obvious. What should people associate with you? That's where your brand has to connect back to a real business problem. A personal brand for a business owner can't just be a pile of random thoughts. There needs to be a connection back to what the business actually does. That doesn't mean that every piece of content needs to sell something. Nobody wants to follow a walking sales page. However, your content should live in the same world as the problems that your business solves. That's how people start to understand your expertise. A realtor could build their brand around helping sellers understand the market. An attorney could be known for explaining what people should do immediately after following an accident. A financial advisor could create content around smarter money decisions for business owners. A contractor could talk about mistakes homeowners make before starting a project. The industry changes, but the principle remains the same. Your personal brand should be attached to a problem that people care about. Otherwise, you're just posting and hoping people figure it out. That's not a strategy. That's throwing content in the woods and waiting for a raccoon to bring back a lead. The clearer the problem, the easier the brand becomes to understand. For me, when I talk about content, I'm not just talking about making videos because video is popular. The deeper conversation is trust. How does a business owner become more trusted before a sales call? How can content make someone feel like they already understand your thinking? How does a personal brand help attract better conversations instead of just more attention? That is the business problem behind the content. And when your content is connected to a real business problem, the brand starts doing the actual work. So before worrying about the platform or the camera or the perfect caption style, answer the bigger question first. What problem do you want your name to be connected to? That answer gives the brand direction. Without it, you're just making noise with better lighting. Now, the problem alone is not enough because plenty of people talk about the same problems. That's why your point of view really matters. A personal brand gets stronger when people understand how you think, not just what you sell. That is where your point of view separates you from everyone else saying the same basic thing in your industry. Because let's be honest, most industries are packed with the same copy and paste content. Same tips, same captions, same safe little posts that sound like somebody tried to write marketing copy inside a dentist waiting room. A point of view gives your brand a spine. It tells people what you believe. It makes your message easier to remember. And no, that doesn't mean acting controversial just to get attention. That stuff is so obvious and corny. There's a huge difference between having conviction and trying to start a fight in the comments section on a Facebook post about potholes in your hometown just because your engagement is down. A real point of view comes from experience. It comes from what you've seen. It comes from noticing what your industry gets wrong and being willing to say it clearly. For me, one of my core beliefs is that business owners need to stop treating content like a popularity contest. Views are not the whole game. Likes are not the whole game. Making a couple $100 from Facebook monetization is not the whole game. A viral clip does not automatically mean your business is growing. Content should attract the right prospects, build industry authority, and help grow your business. That belief gives my content direction. Some people will agree with it, some won't. That's fine. That's the filter. A strong personal brand should make the right people lean in and the wrong people realize they're probably not the right audience. That isn't a problem. That's positioning. Without a clear point of view, your content becomes information with no edge. Useful, maybe. Memorable, probably not. And if people can't remember what you stand for, they probably won't remember why they should trust you. Because once you know the problem you solve and the point of view that you want to be known for, now your content has a real purpose. That's where repetition comes in. A personal brand is not built from one good social media post. One video, not going to do it. One podcast episode, not enough. A clean website helps, but it's not going to carry the whole thing. The market needs repetition. People need to hear your ideas more than once. They need to see your message show up from different angles multiple times. That's how the association starts to form. This can feel boring when you're the one creating the content. Believe me, I get it. But your audience is not seeing every single thing you post. Most people only catch pieces. One clip one week, a caption next week, a podcast episode maybe a week later. Maybe they'll visit your website after your name shows up a few times, but eventually the pattern starts to land. This is how brand memory gets built. You do not need to reinvent yourself every other week. Constantly changing the messaging actually makes the brand harder to remember. The stronger move is choosing a few core themes and staying with them. For me, the themes are personal branding, content creation, and using video podcasting to drive business growth through trust and authority. Everything should connect back to that world in some way. That gives brand consistency. And consistency is not just posting on a schedule. It's giving people a clear message often enough that they start associating you with it. That's how content builds the brand, not through random trends, not through copying whatever some guru says on the internet this week, and not through chasing attention that has no connection whatsoever to your business. The content should make your brand easier to understand every time someone sees it. That is its job. And if the content is the repetition system, video is what makes it feel human. Written content can explain your ideas. Good design can make you look polished. A strong website can even make your business feel more professional. But video just does something a little bit different. Video lets people feel how you actually think. And that matters because trust isn't just built through information. People are also paying attention to your tone, delivery, confidence, presence, and whether the message feels real. A great caption can say the right thing. Hearing the person say it usually hits differently. Your voice gives the message texture. Your face creates familiarity. Your delivery adds context that text cannot always carry. And that's why video is such a big part of personal branding now. It lowers the distance between you and the market. People get a better sense of who they're dealing with. And honestly, that is why a lot of business owners avoid it. Video feels exposed. It makes people overthink everything. How they sound, how they look, where their hands should go, whether their face is doing something weird or not. That awkward phase is totally normal. And guess what? Everybody goes through it. The problem is when business owners let that awkward phase stop them completely. Because on the other side of that is trust. People trust people they feel like they know. And video helps create that so much faster. The goal is not to become some overly polished media personality, because that can totally make you less relatable if it's overdone. The goal is to show up clearly and consistently enough that people start to recognize your face, your voice, and your perspective. That is when the personal brand starts becoming real to the market. A faceless business can be respected, but a human brand can be trusted. There is a difference. And when people hear content, they usually just think about random posts. A quick reel, a LinkedIn thought, maybe a short video when an idea just pops into their head. And listen, that can work, but it becomes really hard to sustain without a system. A video podcast gives your personal brand a home base. It creates a repeatable place to clarify your thinking, explain your perspective, and talk about the problems that your audience actually cares about. So instead of constantly asking, "What should I post today?" now you have a format. Every episode becomes a place to sharpen your message. Every topic gives people a deeper look at how you actually think. And guess what? Over time, the show becomes a media asset around your expertise. That is different from just making content. A video podcast gives you depth. Short clips give you reach. Social media posts reinforce the message. Email extends the conversation. Your website can now feature episodes as proof of your thinking. Sales conversations can be supported by topics you already covered in the podcast. And one recording session can become so much more than just one piece of content. That is why I lean hard into video podcasting for business owners. Not because everyone needs to become a podcaster, but because the real value is structure and the ability to repurpose content at scale. A video podcast gives your expertise a place to live. A strong episode can show a prospect more about how you think than 10 polished posts ever could. When someone watches you explain a topic for 7, 10, or even 15 minutes, they're not just consuming information. They're evaluating trust, and that is value. The podcast becomes a trust-building machine, not because of downloads, not because of some chart rankings, and not because some guy halfway across the country was listening while he was mowing the lawn. Although, shout out to that guy. The real value is in what the show does for your authority. It helps people understand your perspective before they ever even speak to you. By the time someone reaches out, the relationship is no longer starting at zero. They've already heard your voice. They have seen how you explain things. They already have a feel for your thinking. That changes the sales conversation completely. And that's really where all this is supposed to lead. A personal brand should make the sales process easier. That doesn't mean that every person who watches one video becomes a client. That's fantasy. The goal is more realistic and much more valuable. People should start feeling familiar with you before they ever even reach out. Your content should help them understand what you believe, what problem you solve, and why your perspective is worth paying attention to. By the time a call happens, the conversation should feel warmer. Less explaining, less convincing, less starting from scratch. That is what a strong personal brand does. It builds trust in public. And when trust is already forming before the first conversation, sales becomes less about proving yourself and more about figuring out whether it's a right fit or not. That is a completely different dynamic. This is why I don't think business owners should treat content like some random side hustle activity. Your content is part of your trust building process. Your personal brand is part of your sales process. A video podcast, when done correctly, becomes part of your authority system. That's the bigger picture. The goal is not to look busy online. The goal is to become easier to trust. When the brand is clear, consistent, and connected to the problem your business solves, people know what to come to you for. That is when the brand starts doing its job. And if I had to start from zero today, the first move I'd make is simple. I'd write down this one sentence. I want people to associate my name with blank. Whatever that is, fill in the blank. So before posting more content, going out and buying a camera, launching a podcast, redesigning a website, or trying to be everywhere online, I'd get brutally clear with that first. Because if you don't know what you want your name to be connected to, your content is going to be totally random all over the place. Let me give you a few examples. So if I'm a realtor, I don't want people to associate my name with some generic helping people find their dream home type message. Every realtor says that. It sounds nice, but it doesn't really give your brand any edge. I would want people to associate my name with being the realtor who helps real estate investors make smart moves instead of emotional ones. That's a brand I can get behind. And if I'm a personal injury attorney, I don't just want people to think, oh, they do accidents. I want people to associate my name with knowing exactly what to do in the first 48 hours after a car crash so they don't say the wrong thing, sign the wrong thing, or get taken advantage of by the insurance company. That's a personal injury attorney who means business. And if I'm a financial advisor, I don't just want people to associate my name with money advice. I'd want people to associate my name with helping business owners turn profit into long-term wealth instead of just making more money and wondering where the hell it all went. And for me personally, I want people to associate my brand with helping business owners use video podcasts to earn trust, build an undeniable brand, and grow their business. That's the point. The more specific the association, the easier it is for people to understand where you fit in. That one sentence gives the brand direction. And after that, every piece of content should support it. Your videos, your posts, your podcast, your website, your sales conversations, all of it should keep reinforcing that same association. That's the first move. Not posting more, not chasing attention, not trying to sound like everybody else online. Decide what you want your name to be connected to, then build the proof around it. That's how the brand starts. So if you're a business owner trying to build a personal brand, stop thinking about it like you're trying to become famous. Personal branding is not influencer behavior. That's the wrong target. The real goal is to become known, trusted, and remembered for the problems you solve. Start with association. Decide what you want people to connect to your name. Build the brand around a real business problem. Develop a point of view people can actually remember. Then use content to repeat the message until the market understands where you fit. And if you want a system that gives your brand depth, consistency, and a steady flow of content, a video podcast is one of the strongest plays. And it's not because podcasting is trendy and it's the service I sell, but because it gives your expertise a place to live. The truth is, a video podcast is the single most scalable trust-building tool a business owner can use. It's the thing that makes people feel like they know you before they ever even talk to you. It's what turns a cold lead into a warm one before the conversation even starts. But that only works if you treat it like an investment, not an inconvenience. And the business owners who understand that are going to have a serious advantage over the ones still hiding behind a logo, a service page, and a few random Facebook posts from last quarter. I don't just talk about this kind of stuff. I've lived it. I've built it for myself. I've built it from other business owners, and I can help you too. So if you want to work with someone who's actually doing the work, DM me on Instagram at Bill Corcoran Jr. or drop me a line at billcorcoranjr.com. Appreciate you spending the time with me today. This show is built to give you what you actually need, not just what I think. So if there's a topic or question you want me to cover, let me know here in the comments or hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Bill Corcoran Jr. If it's strong, I might turn it into a full episode. And if you want to dig deeper, you can find more content at billcorcoranjr.com.